May this be for God's greater honor and glory. Amen. Please be seated. Well, I have to say it's very nice to be back among you again. I've missed you guys. It's been a year since I was here. I left last July. Hard to believe, but it's been that long. But anyway, I'll be here for the next 3 Sundays. And then again once in September, I think. I want to spend a few moments considering 2 people from the New Testament whom we know very well. We know Peter and we know Judas. Now, we all know and are very familiar with what these 2 men did. So we're not going to rehash what they did, but we're going to put them kind of side by side and compare and contrast them. Peter and Judas. Peter, in the course of probably an hour and a half, denied that he knew Jesus 3 times. I don't know him. I don't know him. I never heard of the guy. And he's right in the courtyard of the high priest, and Jesus is inside. He said that because he was scared to death and he wanted to save his own skin, to be perfectly blunt. Judas, on the other hand, betrayed him into the hands of the high priests, and for that he made a quick buck, got 30 pieces of silver. Now, when you compare them side by side, who was worse? Was Peter worse for having denied Jesus 3 times? Or was Judas worse because he betrayed him into the hands of Jesus' enemies? Kind of hard to tell. The early church, for their part, really didn't have an answer for that. And they never once tried to sanitize the gospel versions of what happened. Never once did they ever say, well, what Peter did wasn't so bad, but that Judas, man, he was a loser. They never said that. They looked at Peter and they looked at Judas, said they did what they did, and we can't forget that. Now, why is it then that if Peter is so bad and Judas is so bad, why is there a Saint Peter, but why is there no Saint Judas? Think about it. Why is there a Saint Peter, and we all know what he did, and why is there no Saint Judas, and we all know what he did? The answer, it seems to me, comes from the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John, at the moment of Jesus' death, said and reports, and he's the only one who reports this, he reports that Jesus spoke a Greek word, tetelestai, which means it's finished. But when you go to a Greek dictionary, tetelestai doesn't mean it's finished. It means it's paid in full, is what it means. Well, what's paid in full? Well, it's a term from banking and finance in the ancient world. So here you are, let's say you're in ancient Corinth, and you need $1,000. And you go to the banker, and the banker writes you a contract for a loan of $1,000 plus interest, and you agree in the course of, let's say, a year's time, that you will pay back the loan with interest. And you do. A year from now, you go back and you give the banker the last payment plus interest, and he stands up and smiles and shakes your hand and then writes at the bottom of the contract, tetelestai, paid in full. Jesus said that when he died on the cross, paid in full. What was he talking about? There was no money exchanged back and forth. So Jesus is really talking about something much, much bigger and much, much more important than paid in full and money transactions. What Jesus is really saying when he said tetelestai, paid in full, is that the debt that we owed to God, our sinfulness, has been completely and utterly, completely paid in full. Well, what does that mean? It means when Jesus died, he wiped out every sin that had ever occurred in the past. Tetelestai, paid in full. It means that when he said tetelestai, every sin that is being committed right now, paid in full, wiped away. It also means when he said tetelestai, that every sin that will be committed in the future is forgiven. So we are the benefactors, the beneficiaries of a completely forgiven people. We have been completely forgiven for everything that we will ever do because of what Jesus did when he died on the cross for us, tetelestai. So I'll just leave you with this. Maybe the reason that there's a St. Peter and not a St. Judas is because Peter realized the enormity of what he did and completely fell apart when he realized how horrible what he did, the horror of it all. Sadly, Judas, on the other hand, decided, well, nobody can forgive what I've done, not even God, and so I'm just going to end it all. If Judas had just stayed around another 24 hours and heard Jesus say, paid in full, he would have realized that there is a place in God's heart, even for me, even for Judas, even for the one who betrayed his only son, tetelestai. So I'll leave you with this thought. Christians aren't perfect people. I mean, just look around. We're just not perfect. But we are the most forgiven people on the planet because God made sure when he died that he paid in full everything that we ever did, are doing, or will do in the future. We are truly forgiven people. Amen. May God be praised.